I want to tell you about 9 basic volunteer standards that can give you some guidelines for how you approach a young person through your ministry at Youth Unlimited. All of you will be approaching young people from different points of entry. You'll be coming through a school program perhaps, or maybe through a one-on-one mentorship sort of program. Maybe it's a leadership development time, or maybe it's skating at a skateboard park. Whatever the case is, these 9 things can help you have a really good foundation for approaching young people. The first one is empathy. Empathy means being able to step into another person's shoes. Realistically, you're not a teenager anymore, and neither am I. But what empathy means is being able to consider what it must be like to be that young person. If you move into another person's life with the foundation of empathy, it opens the door for them to begin to understand their own emotions, and for them to begin to be released from perhaps trying to justify those emotions or trying to deny those emotions. Empathy allows us to help a young person recognize that it's okay to be where they are. But the love that we marry with that empathy invites them to move to a better place. So empathy is a place that you want to start. Number 2, respect for the student. The reality is a lot of the students we work with may be making decisions or living lifestyles that we don't necessarily agree with. In fact, they might be doing things that we would actually say are really bad for them or unhealthy for them. But respecting the individual is way different than condoning the behavior. Respecting the individual means that we recognize that God has made them unique, and in His image, they just might not have figured out what that looks like yet. Respecting the individual allows the person chances to make decisions and make mistakes, but we're walking alongside of them in relationship to help give them options to make different decisions. Number 3, acceptance. Accepting a student for who he or she is a really important part of the healing process and the change process. Counseling tells us that the 3 necessary conditions for change are warmth or acceptance, unconditional positive regard, and empathy. Well, we talked about empathy already, so the idea of acceptance is part of this equation as well. Acceptance means, again, not necessarily condoning what someone is doing, but accepting who they are, and in fact, going beyond that and valuing who they are. Recognizing that they have something to contribute, and that there are good things about this person and the way that God has made them. Number 4, advice. Be really cautious about stepping into the young person's life with advice. The reality is that when we give people advice, we rob them of learning the skill of problem solving. And problem solving is one of those things that can help young people become resilient over time. We need to be able to step in and help young people learn how to solve problems, both through our example and through inviting them to walk through the steps that it takes to get from where they are to where they need to be. If we give them easy advice, they can become dependent on us and not learn the skills for themselves that they need to learn. So advice is the 4th thing to keep in mind. Number 5, communication. What do I mean by communication? I mean choosing to listen. Listening is a skill, and it can be improved like any skill, but it's a tough one to learn. It's been said that the world needs an ear that will listen, but Christians often aren't listening because they're talking when they should be listening. That was something that a wise man said about 200 years ago, and I think it's still true today. I think we are often talking when we should be listening because we have good news and we have truth we want to tell kids, but listening opens the door for them to then turn around and listen to us. So communication involves good listening, that's a choice, and it also involves some really good questions. Beginning to say to a young person, tell me about this and tell me about that, allows them to know that we really are interested in them and we want to know about their world. Having good communication skills is also great modeling, because if a young person can learn to communicate better, that's another key thing to them being resilient and withstanding the strong waves that are going to come in their lives. Number 6, be open-minded. What do I mean by that? I mean, don't always go by the books. Every young person is different, and we need to allow the young person to actually teach us how to best respond to them. We need to ask them questions, and we need to be honest, and we need to be able to say, I don't have a clue what to say right now. The open-minded person is able to be humble and to say to a young person, I know a little bit about this, but I don't know enough. Can you give me some time to learn more and then we'll talk more next week? Or better yet, this is a really big issue. Can I connect you to someone who might know more about this than I do? That kind of humility that allows us to be open-minded really opens the door for young people to get the help they might need. Number 7, be patient. This is a huge one, but we desperately want to see young people's lives turned around. Yet the reality is that it's a journey, it's a process. Signing up to be a volunteer means you're signing up to walk with them in the process. So be patient, the same way that God is patient with you. Number 8, be a role model. Doing life alongside of the young person, letting them see a glimpse of your life in appropriate ways and honest ways is a great way to help young people understand what it looks like to be a healthy adult. In Philippians chapter 3, verse 17, Paul says, be modeling your life after mine. That's a gutsy thing to say because it makes us feel like, who am I to say, watch me? I haven't got it all together. But as a role model, what we're doing is we're taking responsibility to work towards being a healthy, godly person. And we're inviting the young person to observe us in that process of stumbling towards Jesus. So be a role model in all the areas of your life. This involves when you're driving. This involves when you're talking about other people. This involves your humor and the way that you respect other people. Be a role model so they can look at you and see what it looks like to follow after Jesus. Then the last one, become a friend. Be someone that your young person can count on. It's really important that kids know that we aren't just with them because we signed up for some program, but that we really do honestly want to be there. Be a friend, an adult friend, who is willing to invest in their lives, who is willing to actually follow up on the things that they've told us. Remember the things that are important to that young person. Ask them questions that follow up on the things that they've told you. And recognize that being an adult friend, sometimes you will be the only person in their life who is actually truly listening and truly caring about what's going on. It's a big responsibility, but it's something you're not doing alone. It says in the Bible that when we were still sinners, Christ died for us. He didn't wait till we got our acts cleaned up to become our friend, to come and to sacrifice for us. And that's the model that you're following as you step into the lives of young people.